OpenAI is the most valuable startup the world has ever seen, worth around $850 billion. And in July of 2020, it reportedly offered to hand a piece of itself to the United States government, a 5% stake, worth about $42.6 billion. Not sold, not taxed, offered. Why would the hottest company on earth try to give away $42 billion? The answer is one of the strangest stories in modern capitalism. This is artificial empires, and this is how the money and the power really work. According to reports from the Financial Times and CNBC, OpenAI proposed that Washington take 5% of the company, 5% of an $852 billion company, $42.6 billion handed to the state. To put that in perspective, that single slice is worth more than the entire value of most companies in the S&P 500. $42 billion is more than the entire annual budget of most US federal agencies. OpenAI is offering that, in stock, for Goodwill. And it tells you exactly where the leverage now sits. A company offering the government money instead of the other way around. And OpenAI wasn't forced into it at gunpoint. By these accounts, it was OpenAI's own idea, which raises the real question of this entire story. What does a company get when it gives the government a cut? The reported reason is blunt: to secure good relations with the administration and to address political blowback. Because OpenAI has a problem money alone can't fix. It has become too powerful, too fast, and Washington has noticed. It needs things only the government can give: access to chips, permits for data centers, electricity at national scale, and protection from the regulation that could slow it down. So the theory goes: give the state a financial stake, and suddenly the government's interests and OpenAI's interests line up. When Washington owns 5% of you, Washington wants you to win. And this wasn't a sudden idea. Altman had reportedly been pitching versions of it since early 2025. More than a year of quiet talks. There's a national security angle too. Washington wants American AI to beat China. A stake gives the state a direct interest in OpenAI winning that race. In that framing, this isn't crony capitalism. It's industrial strategy, backing your national champion and owning a piece of the victory. And OpenAI's ambitions run on staggering amounts of power. It has talked about data centers that would consume as much electricity as entire cities. Building that requires land, grid connections, and permits only governments can fast-track. Goodwill here isn't abstract. It's concrete, steel and megawatts. But here's where it stops being about one company and starts being about the entire industry. The plan reportedly isn't just OpenAI. It's for the government to take 5% of every leading American AI company. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta, all ceding a slice to a single government vehicle, a sovereign wealth fund, built not on oil, but on artificial intelligence. The model is Alaska. For decades, Alaska has taken its oil wealth, invested it, and paid every resident a yearly dividend. Altman's pitch: do the same with AI. Let the public own a piece of the machines. Share the upside with everyone. Imagine a future where every American gets a check, funded by the profits of artificial intelligence. But there's a catch the Alaska comparison hides. Oil was a resource the state already owned. AI is a private creation, and the public would be buying in on the company's terms, at the company's valuation. And valuations can collapse. If the AI boom deflates, that $42 billion gift could be worth a fraction of it, leaving taxpayers holding the bag. It sounds almost utopian, which is exactly why you should look closer. Because the moment the government owns a piece of a company, everything changes. The state is supposed to be the referee. It writes the rules. It enforces the antitrust laws. It decides what AI is allowed to do. But a referee that owns 5% of one team is no longer neutral. It has a reason to want that team to win. How do you regulate a company you're a shareholder in? How do you break up a monopoly that pays you dividends? Critics call it exactly what it looks like. The line between the state and the corporation quietly dissolving. Governments have taken stakes in companies before. Banks in 2008, automakers after their bailouts. But those were rescues. OpenAI isn't drowning, it's dominant. This wouldn't be a bailout, it would be a partnership at the peak of its power. Some see crony capitalism dressed up as public benefit, the government picking winners and then profiting from them. Others see something stranger, the soft nationalization of artificial intelligence, a future where the most powerful technology ever built answers, in part, to the state that owns a piece of it. And there's the question no one has answered. Who actually controls that 5%? A president? An agency? A fund that changes hands every election? Picture it. A future antitrust case against OpenAI. The same government prosecuting it also owns a $42 billion stake in the outcome. Or a safety scandal. Does a government that profits from OpenAI's growth really want to pull the plug? Every watchdog in Washington would suddenly have a financial reason to look the other way. And the promise that the public owns a piece deserves hard questions. Who manages the fund? Who votes the shares? Which administration controls it? A dividend for every American sounds beautiful, but sovereign funds can be raided, politicized, or quietly redirected. The public's share is only as safe as the politicians guarding it. Now zoom out, and the timing tells its own story. OpenAI is heading toward one of the largest public offerings in history, an IPO that could value it near $1 trillion, and nothing smooths the road to Wall Street like having the government on your side, holding a stake it wants to see grow. Meanwhile, OpenAI is fighting a lawsuit from Apple, burning billions on compute, and racing rivals on every front. In that light, $42 billion starts to look less like a gift and more like the smartest insurance policy ever written. The reaction from rivals was immediate and brutal. Critics called it a bribe by another name, buying protection with equity instead of cash. To them, this is the ultimate insider move. Fuse yourself to the state, and no competitor, and no regulator, can ever truly touch you. Give up 5%. Get a partner with the power to write laws, approve mergers, and fund your future. Whether any of this actually happens is still an open question. The talks are early, and by the reporting, a deal this big would likely need approval from Congress. Congress has never done anything like it. There is no playbook for the government owning the company building superintelligence, but the fact that it's even on the table tells you how far we've come. A private company, worth more than most nations, offering the state a seat at the table it built. For most of history, empires were built by governments. Now the empires are the companies, and the governments are being invited to invest. Think about what it means for a democracy when the government's own finances start to depend on the success of a handful of AI companies. Every citizen becomes, indirectly, an investor in artificial intelligence, whether they believe in it or not. The interests of the state, the market, and the machines, braided into a single knot that no one may be able to untie. History may remember July of 2026 as the moment the question stopped being whether governments should regulate AI and started being whether they should own it. For years we asked if AI would serve the public or the powerful. This deal hints at a third answer no one planned for. Both, fused at once. That's the real shift hiding inside this $42 billion offer. Power and money fusing at the exact center of artificial intelligence. The only question left is whether that makes AI safer for everyone, or simply more untouchable. Maybe the public really does get a share of the future. Or maybe we just watched the most powerful company on Earth buy the one thing money isn't supposed to buy: the government, as a shareholder. This is artificial empires, the stories behind the money, the power, and the machines. If you want to understand who really owns the future, subscribe. Because the next empire won't just be too big to fail. It might be too big to regulate.